It's only the Permian Basin that has been growing in terms of production. If you look at all the other basins, they haven't. That's declining, growing at a less and less rate over the last few years. This is a critical thing. Everyone talks about, the shiny stuff, the stuff that entertains folks, but it's neither here nor there.
There's all these headlines that surface every so often that get repeated on. In a way, it's just a massive distraction.
What has changed fundamentally? And rather than getting all caught up in the short-term noise and all this banter about the Japanese carry trade, or even banter about the US going into recession, stand back and look at the main driving fundamentals, or the fundamental drivers of these themes we're on. Now, one of those themes, the US shale reserves, the US is through more or less 50% of its shale reserves. Top left-hand corner, US shale production sort of looks like it's topping out. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Beneath the scenes, it's only the Permian Basin that has been growing in terms of production. If you look at all the other basins, they haven't. They are well below the previous peaks. You could argue they've sort of been going sideways for the last few years. We think that they're in decline. If you look more closely at what's happening with the Permian, we look at its production, the year-on-year addition to its production, that's declining. So yes, it is growing. The Permian production is growing, but it is growing at a less and less rate over the last few years. In fact, you take out the momentary lapse of reason due to the corona crisis, actually it peaked in terms of growth and production. It peaked back in 2018, 2019. Ever since then, it's been really struggling to maintain those growth rates. We think that the Permian probably either at or through 50% of its resource utilization. And once you get through 50% of your resource utilization, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to grow. We keep saying to folks to come back. I mean, what has changed fundamentally? Nothing. Now, we didn't highlight here that the fact is that it's only been US shale that has been accounting for the growth in production over the last 10, 15 years in world oil production. So if we get this right, everything else sort of falls in place. This is way, way more important than any decline or in demand as such due to a recession. This is fundamental, and yet no one talks about this. This is a critical thing. Everyone talks about the shiny stuff, the stuff that entertains folks, but it's neither here nor there. The real deal, the things that really matter, very few people talk about.
Very good.
One example of fundamentals, we could have talked about the order books for shipping, so on and so forth. We could talk about declining ore grades and copper. Obviously, time doesn't permit that here, but this is just one example. Go back to the fundamentals. What has changed? Nothing.
It seems that people try and use all sorts of data points and news flow to establish the meaning with what's going on, which is primarily a short-term thing, whereas the problems, the world's changing, and using those, whatever the Fed's doing, or the carry trade, or what was it before? It was Silicon Valley Bank, or it was commercial rates, or there's all these sorts of, or swaps. There's all these headlines that surface every so often that get repeated on, Twitter and in social media and the alt media that just get bandied around, and all the experts weigh in, and in a way it's just a massive distraction.